2, 1. Start recording it. Okay, giving 1 minute for the Zoom to bridge. Two. Okay, we'll get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi all, welcome to the GENup 2020 to 2021 Legislative Session Policy Celebration Banquet. We're so excited that you're all here today attending and watching, whether you're GENup chapter members, GENup student organizers from across the state, our adult allies, supporters of our work, or even partners. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're so glad to announce that 19 bills on our 2020 to 2021 policy slate have been signed into law this year, including one that we authored with our very own partner, the California Student Board Member Association, and the author was Assemblymember Steve Bennett, who's also here today. And this bill will allow students to petition for positions on county offices, county boards of education, school boards, as well as charter governing boards of education. So thank you all so much. We're so incredibly excited for this incredible event today, and we have an amazing list of speakers lined up. So I'm going to kick it off by passing it off to our wonderful Chief of Staff, Genevieve.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for making it. If you don't know me already, my name is Genevieve. I am the Chief of Staff for the K-12 branch of GENup. It is super exciting to be with you here today to celebrate all of the amazing work that we have been able to accomplish. And I mean we, as in all of us, the members of GENup, and all of the adult allies that are here today, because we really couldn't have done it without you. This entire process started, I guess, just under a year ago when Alvin gave me a phone call. I was walking to lunch, getting it at the dining hall, and he goes, "Hey, I have an idea." And we were able to get so many people on board, get all of you on board, which is so exciting. We were able to make tangible change that you guys are seeing right now. Right now, you guys can take a mental health day without having to worry about absences piling up. You can look forward to seeing ethnic studies be implemented in several years' time. These are things that we have done together as a team, and it is such an honor and a privilege to say that I worked on this with you. So thank you so much for coming here with us to celebrate. I'm going to pass it off to Michelle, our policy director, to kick us off.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle, pronouns she, her, hers, and I am the Executive Policy Director for GENup. So I lead a team of incredibly dedicated students who have been really involved in the legislative process and who sought out these different bills, the bills that are going to affect and benefit students, who have been in contact with legislators, with staff, with constituents who have mobilized. This has been a wild ride. We have put in so much work, and now we get to see all of our successes. So I am incredibly proud of our policy team. I'm incredibly proud of all of our chapters. I want to extend a deep thank you to all of the legislators, assembly members, senators, allies, and supporters. We could not have done this without you. And thank you to all of the members of our chapter, from student ambassadors to chapter presidents, and then our executive team. We are so excited, so proud, and we can't wait to continue doing this work.
All right, so without further ado, we're going to kick it off with our introductions. First off, I'd like to welcome a special speaker here today, Mr. Tony Thurmond, our very own State Superintendent of Public Instruction, the leader of the California Department of Education, the leader of California's public education system, and the biggest in the nation. So let's give a big round of applause to an incredible adult ally, a role model, and a mentor for me, Superintendent Thurmond. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Alvin. Greetings, everyone at GENup. I'm Tony Thurmond, State Superintendent of Public Instruction. I use the pronouns he, him, and his. I'm so grateful for your incredible leadership. I'm so honored that you've given me just a moment of time to really just reflect back to you how proud I am about what you all have done to make ethnic studies a reality in this state. And if you think about it, what we built here is going to become an example in the nation. I was proud to be one of to sponsor AB 101 to make this a graduation requirement, and very proud to work with Assemblymember Medina. Mad props to you, Assemblymember Medina, because this took many, many tries, and you never gave up hope. You kept the faith, and you kept this moving. I just want to say gracias a mi hermano de Panama, and that this has just been a great opportunity because of that. I want to just shout out all the young people who worked with us, Alvin and Maya, Michelle. Thank you for just working with us directly on this. Nina Sen, who I know is one of your volunteers, she's worked closely with us at the Department of Education, both on the work that you all did on ethnic studies and the work that you did to try and make changes to things like Prop 16 so that we can talk about the impacts of race. We're surviving the pandemic, and that has created all kinds of challenges in a once-in-a-lifetime moment that's probably the toughest we'll experience in our lifetime. But we must also navigate the pandemic of racism. We've watched, sadly, the killing of George Floyd, the spike in hate against the Asian American Pacific Islander community, the mistreatment of our unaccompanied minors, bullying against LGBTQ plus students. And so we know that ethnic studies is more than a conversation. We have to give our students the opportunity to see the contributions of their ancestors, African American, Latino, Native American, Asian American Pacific Islander. So thank you all for not just talking about it, but you all walk the walk. Thank you, Dr. Karen Korematsu. Thank you, Alvin. You were both on so many webinars that we had to just help students understand what ethnic studies is. Thank you to all the students in the state who said, hey, yo, how come I don't see folks who look like me in my classroom? And it was because of the power that you all gave us, you, GENup, and other young people in our state, that we are here in this moment. Thank you, Assemblymember Bennett, for your leadership to make sure that student voices are heard. And so, and thank you, Dr. Lee, because I know that you've been working with folks, you've been educating us, you've been guiding. Everyone on this Zoom deserves thanks, but I just wanted to shout you all out because we've been doing this over the course of many years. And y'all have been with us every step of the way. Congratulations, felicidades. This is an important moment, and I'm grateful that we've had a chance to be on this journey together. I'm turning it back to our host at GENup to keep it rolling. Great job, everybody. Thank you.
Once again, thank you so much, Superintendent Thurmond. It's an honor to have you. And from everyone here at GENup, we appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you're doing for California students, and we're all sending you lots of love.
Right back at you.
Awesome. Next up, we're going to introduce Delane Easton, who was the state superintendent of public instruction for California from 1995 to 2003. And she is the first woman ever to be elected to this position. And she's also on the GENup Board of Advisors. So we're so glad that Mrs. Easton is here today. And I'm going to pass it off to Mrs. Easton to take it away and kick it off.
Thank you so much, Alvin, and my thanks to each and every one of you. It is indeed an honor to be associated with this group. And I just want to tell you, the Greeks invented the word democracy from two Greek words, demos and kratos, government by the people. They also invented the word idiot. It meant one who does not participate in politics. So I want to thank you all for participating. And I know there are some people that try to dismiss you, some of you because of your age. Well, let me just remind you, many of you are closer to the age of the people that founded this country than some of us old souls. The fact is that Madison and Monroe were in teens and 20s. And the fact is that a lot of the folks that did the important work to found the United States of America were your age and maybe a little older. But all of you can make a difference. And now is a critical time for us to engage and involve you deeply in making the decisions. Because the truth is there are real serious problems in your communities, in our state, in our nation, and they can be solved with the vision and the courage and the heart that each of you brings to this. People like to talk about smarts and intelligence, and remember what really matters. Yes, it's important to do your homework. Yes, it's important to learn the facts, but it's also important to have a vision about the future. It's important to have the courage to follow that vision. And it's important to have the heart to stand up to people, especially people that are being minimalized or not being heard or not being seen. And so I'm just very proud of each and every one of you. I've been involved in getting young people into government my whole life. I'm never going to stop. And thank you for bringing your vision and your courage and your heart, as well as your gumption to this work. Thank you very much, Alvin, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Easton. Big round of applause. Next up, we're going to be welcoming Rana Bananka. Sadly, she could not join us today, but Rana Bananka is the current state student board member on California State Board of Education this year. She is a full voting board member, probably one of two boards of education in the entire country, and she arguably sits on the most powerful government position any student in the nation can hold. And she's part of GENup's board of directors. And so we're going to play a quick video message from her here today.
Hey everyone, this is Rana, the current state SBM. I just wanted to say how incredibly proud I am of all of the work that GENup has done in this past year, especially with this recent legislative slate. I think that the success speaks for itself. We got so many bills passed and signed into law. I know that one of the bills that I'm really excited about and that I know a lot of my peers have talked about is SB 14, which allows for excused days for mental health. I know that plenty of my peers are just extremely excited to see that we are finally recognizing mental health as being just as important as physical health in schools. So that's just one of the many bills that students are super excited to see finally being implemented. I'm personally really grateful for the opportunity to have joined GENup last year. I personally know just how hardworking every member of GENup is, and I'm so glad to see that all of that hard work paid off.
All right. Thank you so much, Rana, and big shout out to that incredible video message. Next up, we're going to welcome Assemblymember Steve Bennett, who was the author of AB 824, which was a bill that GENup, along with the California Student Board Member Association, co-wrote. So this is very exciting, as this was a youth-led bill from its inception to its end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to the incredible Assemblymember Steve Bennett. Assemblymember Bennett, take it away. Assemblymember Bennett, I believe you're muted. I think you're unmuted now.
I think okay. I got it. Yeah, great. Hey, it is really a pleasure to share this time with all of you from GENup, along with some giants in education, Secretary Thurman, Assemblymember Medina, and the great work that he's done, former Secretary Easton. What a combination. Have you young people who are just starting off, and then have these luminaries who have done so much for education. So I feel particularly honored and delighted. I came in, I was newly elected just last November. I'm scrambling to try to put together a legislative package. And all of a sudden, this group of young students walks up and says, hey, we have done the hard work and have come up with this bill. Would you be interested in carrying it? And I was really pleased to carry it. I had spent more than 20 years as a high school teacher. I was also the activities director. I was the counselor. I was an assistant principal. So had all of those facets, but there's nothing that's been more enjoyable for me than working with young people your age. So I want to thank you. You made this successful. You had done all of the hard work, and we were able to simply move it through the process on your behalf primarily. And as a result now, you have increased the voice of young people out there. So I would be remiss in saying, in leaving you with that bill alone can't be your legacy. It has to be just your introduction to writing legislation. And I would share with you one thing. Ask yourself a question. why do we see all of these people who have been extremely successful in other aspects of their career? Perhaps they have resources that they cannot possibly spend on themselves, decide that late in their careers they want to run for office. And I think it's because they recognize that the political arena is the ultimate rule-setting place in our society. That's where the ultimate power lies. And we have to make sure that that ultimate power, the rule making, how do we engage almost in settling all of our differences and different points of view? How do we engage is decided by politics and the political arena. We need the best people possible in those situations and in those positions. So I certainly encourage all of you. You've gotten a start, but don't make this the end. Make this as the beginning. We need great people to step up to lead the future of this country and this globe with all the challenges we have out there. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Bennett. And it's been an honor for us working with you this year to get Assembly Bill 824 passed. Next up, we're going to get into our work with our different coalitions that push through these bills. So first up, we're going to welcome our Ethnic Studies Coalition that led the charge along with Diversify Our Narrative to pass and really advocate for the passage of Assembly Bill 101. This coalition was led by our GENup Director of Collegiate, Kimberly Wu, who is a current junior at UC Berkeley. So to kick it off, we're first going to pass it off to Assemblymember Jose Medina, the chair of the Assembly Higher Education Committee and a very close ally, partner, and supporter of GENup. It's been our honor working with you this year. And without further ado, Assemblymember Medina, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Well, thank you so much, Alvin. I do need to thank everyone, starting with our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, my Panamanian brother, Delane, always been a pleasure working with you, and to Assemblymember Bennett, a pleasure to have you with us in Sacramento. So I think, Alvin, it was about a year ago, right? A year ago, just a little more than a year ago, when we were all together in a similar way, and it was let Mr. Medina sleep, right? And it didn't go the way we wanted, but because of the 20,000 students of GENup, the 20,000 students that signed the petition that I held with me when we reintroduced the bill, we are here now with ethnic studies as a high school graduation requirement. But unfortunately, our work is not done. One thing that we learn about politics, there was a very unfortunate incident right here in Riverside a couple of days ago at JW North High School. A teacher teaching math used very inappropriate method, which was mocking of Native American culture. There have been news stories in the media today, and it was a video that went viral. All of that to show us why ethnic studies is so needed. Proud of your work, but we need to continue. We need to make sure that districts don't circumvent the law and try to water it down, or say that it can be taught, kill two birds with one stone, and they're done with it. So vigilance is the word, and thank you to everyone who made getting this bill passed possible. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Medina. And on behalf of all the students, thank you so much for championing, authoring, and leading the fight to make ethnic studies a lived reality for 6.2 million public school students. So we're so thrilled for what this means for students across California and the great step this is towards advancing racial justice through education across the state and ultimately across the nation. Next up, we're going to introduce Maya Howard, who's also part of GENup Board of Directors and was actually the student member on the Instructional Quality Commission last year, where she actually sat and casted a vote to vote through the current model of the ethnic studies model curriculum that was voted through the IQC last year. She is now a freshman at UC Berkeley. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome this incredible youth leader, Maya Howard, to speak. So Maya, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Alvin. So yes, my name is Maya. I use she, her pronouns. And I am, as Alvin said, the former student member of the State Board of Education's Instructional Quality Commission. So first off, thank you so much to all the incredible leaders we've already heard from today. I'm honored to speak alongside of each of you, and I'm so proud of all that GENup has accomplished this legislative session. I think I first heard about and became involved in the ethnic studies model curriculum campaign in California my sophomore year of high school. And as Alvin said, I'm now a freshman in college. So I'm truly so happy and proud of how far we've come these past several years, although I know that this fight has been going on for many, many years before that. And I'm so excited for the next generation of students that will get to see themselves represented at school because of the hard work of GENup and so many others that are here today as well. I was so blessed, again, as Alvin mentioned, to be a part of the process of passing the Ethnic Studies model curriculum as part of the Instructional Quality Commission. It was an incredible experience. And I'm so blessed to have been part of getting this law passed as well. And now that we know that this law is passed and children are going to get to see ethnic studies in school, it really makes everything feel so full circle. And I'm sure that there is so much more to come, and there's so much more success for GENup as well as for ethnic studies in the future. And I look forward to being part of all of it and to hearing about all of it. And congratulations to everybody.
Thank you so much, Maya. And for the final speaker for our Ethnic Studies Coalition, we're excited to welcome another awe-inspiring guest, Dr. Korematsu. Dr. Korematsu is the founder and executive director of the Fred T. Korematsu Institute, and the daughter of the late civil rights icon Fred Korematsu, which I will add is probably a figure that everyone has learned about in their history textbooks at one point if they've taken history, and who is one of the few Asian American leaders, civil rights leaders that you learn about in our history textbooks, but that will soon to change with the passage of ethnic studies in California. But without further ado, Dr. Korematsu, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Well, thank you, Alvin, and good afternoon, everyone. And congratulations, GENup, for all your hard work. This has just been an incredible journey, and I'm so proud and inspired by seeing all these young people really take part, and you're the perfect example of civic engagement. Advocacy is what I hope will inspire all to make change, and this is just the beginning. I hope you will do this the rest of your life, because obviously we have a lot of issues, and as Assembly Member Medina said, a lot of work to do. So this is very exciting to be a part of this. I want to thank especially Superintendent Tony Thurman, who actually was the one that brought me in to take on this challenge of ethnic studies. Certainly, it's not something I had in school growing up. And, I know that if we are going to make a difference in this country, that if we're going to stop, if we're going to fight this anti-Asian hate and all the other issues that we have with African Americans, Latinx, and Indigenous, and it's just so Asian Americans. It's so important that we learn our history. If we don't know our history, then we can't make change. And I'm so excited that AB 101 is passed for California, but we are a national organization, and my goal is one state down and 49 to go. So I have a lot of work to do as well, and it's so wonderful to see former Superintendent Delane Easton, who actually knew my father, and she has always been an inspiration to me as well. And I'm just thrilled that she is a part in supporting and mentoring all of you in these challenges. This is what we're doing. My father was my inspiration, and certainly my advocacy kind of came later, but it's now more important than ever that we all participate in order to make change. And so what the Fred Korematsu Institute is doing is not only working with California, but as I said, across this country to make those changes. Also, I will put in a brief plug to join us for Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution on January 30th. Stay tuned. We're going to do a virtual program. And certainly California it's wonderful that it has the first day in perpetuity honoring my father, but also a point for education, right? And a positive example for especially young people of what standing up for what is right. And in this case, for this January, where our theme is stand up for what is right, get vaccinated, because that's what we're all going to need to do. And yes, and Tony, we've been part of that journey as well, that challenge. I mean, so many issues, but thank you all, and just keep up the great work. And as you know, remember, stand up for what is right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Korematsu. It's an honor to have you. And like Superintendent Thurman said, thank you for your service as well, for being an ambassador for the California Department of Education. And hopefully GENup will be with you side by side in this movement to get ethnic studies passed in the other 49 states as well. And I also want to shout out Illinois for actually being one of the first states to actually mandate Asian American studies as a high school graduation requirement. So that is very incredible. To wrap off the Ethnic Studies Coalition section, I'm going to pass it off to our wonderful GENup Director of Collegiate, Kimberly Wu, who led our Ethnic Studies Coalition. So Kim, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, thank you, Alvin. I just wanted to say a few words. So hi, my name is Kim. I am the Director of GENup Collegiate. I use the SHE series. I'm currently a sophomore at UC Berkeley studying political science, legal studies, and ethnic studies. We at GENup are so immensely proud to have been a youth leader in the fight for ethnic studies through Assembly Member Medina's bill, which is now law as AB 101. Ethnic studies is so important because it empowers communities of color to assert their rights by engaging with this anti-racist pedagogy in their education, which affirms the importance of AB 101. And this month, this monumental piece of legislation finally passed to mandate ethnic studies as a high school graduation requirement, which now makes California as the first state in the nation to mandate ethnic studies, which is incredibly exciting. On a more personal note, similar to the science on the Asian American history I've experienced, many communities of color have been purposefully excluded from our histories books and education, which has resulted in current events that repeat our nation's history of bigotry and racism, because our country has refused to acknowledge and remedy this history. If we do not know our past, we do not know who we are, especially how we came to be. The power of knowledge will give us the strength to use our voices and assert the importance of our cultures into crafting true American histories, which encompasses our stories from all communities of color. Now, through AB 101, we can apply and practice this anti-racist educational curriculum of ethnic studies that we have learned in our classrooms into our lives and communities, empowering us to reclaim our power to unsilence our narratives. So thank you to Assemblyman Medina, Superintendent Tony Thurman, Dr. Karen Korematsu, Maya Howard, a lot of other student leaders, and all ethnic studies activists who have contributed to the fight for ethnic studies and anti-racist educational curriculum. That being said, I'm thankful of everyone here, and I'm just going to pass it back to Alvin at this point.
Thank you so much, Kim. That concludes our Ethnic Studies Coalition section. Next up, we're going to get to our Mental Health Coalition, where we also helped advocate and champion a couple of very incredible mental health bills to the legislature this year and on the governor's desk, most notably SB 14 and SB 224, which were both signed into law by Governor Newsom this year. And this is a huge deal for California students when it comes to mental health. So I'm going to pass it off to our GENup Coalition lead for the Mental Health Coalition, Leo, to take it away.
Thank you so much, Alvin. Hey, everybody. My name is Leo, pronouns he, him, his. And I was one of the leads for the Mental Health Coalition. Our other lead, Winnie, is in class right now, so she couldn't make it, but wants to sort of share her gratitude for passing these bills. We had numerous bills on our mental health slate pass, and the primary two were sort of our priority bills, and those were SB 14 and SB 224. And SB 14 was a bill to make mental health days an excused absence in schools statewide in California, a hugely transformative bill that is, State Student Board Member Rama put it, so many students have been talking about this for so long, and it's finally law, and we're so proud of that. And then SB 224, which made mental health curriculum a required component of health classes in California. So now hundreds of thousands of students are being taught or being given the resources from their schools to cope with their mental health by themselves, to seek help from others, and to recognize symptoms in others and help their friends and family and peers. And sort of for me and my role in passing these bills and GENup's role, I think what makes me the most proud of these two mental health bills is that they were primarily student-led initiatives. It's kind of a funny story for how SB 14 came to be. So it started out in Oregon. There was a student activist named Haley Hardcastle who organized a group of students to push for a mental health days bill to be implemented in Oregon. And after sort of a year of advocating and working with various organizations, that came to be. And Oregon passed mental health days into law, and they were the first state to do so. And then all the way in Montgomery County, Maryland, a student board member on the Montgomery County, Maryland Public Schools School Board named Nick Asante heard about what they did in Oregon and said, "Hey, that sounds pretty cool. We should do that here." And so he worked with his school board in Montgomery County and had that implemented locally for their schools there. And then my friend Zachary Patterson, who's on the Zoom today, president of the California Student Board Member Association and also the student board member for San Diego Unified School District, heard about what Nick Asante did and said, "Hey, that sounds like a good idea. We should do that here." And so we brought it to GENup and CSBMA, and we talked about it, and it became our sort of #1 staple local initiative that we were pressuring local school districts to do. I think we got a total of 9 school districts, some of the big ones, Los Angeles Unified, San Diego Unified, Sacramento Unified, Berkeley, my own, Albany, all 3,500 of us kids in East Bay. But when GENup started doing legislative advocacy, we want to say, hey, we want mental health days to be a priority. We've talked to students from across the state. We've talked to our membership. This is what they want. Let's make it happen. And so we were looking around trying to get legislators to pick it up. And the first one we went to, they said, "Oh, you know, this already exists, right?" And we were like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, Senator Portantino from Pasadena, California." And so that's where we went to, Senator Portantino, who couldn't be here today, but he sends his best wishes. And we spoke to him. He was ecstatic to have students supporting the efforts in California. He'd also heard about it from the law passed in Oregon. And so working with his office and that coalition, our partners, the Community Behavioral Health Agency in California, Born This Way Foundation, Lady Gaga's nonprofit, of course, our partners in crime, the California Student Board Member Association. We organized dozens of students to submit public comments, promote the bills on social media, tune into hearings. I know me and plenty of other people on this Zoom where we're double Zooming between the Assembly Education Committee hearing and classes. But getting these bills finally passed was such a huge deal and was so transformative to the ways that schools support students' mental health. And so to leave you all with this, I'll just drop the hashtag that we've been promoting the past 6 months, Student Health Matters California. And what that meant is that finally in California, mental health, students' mental health is as prioritized as physical health. And we at GENup are really proud to have played a part in that, making that happen. So thank you. Back to you, Alvin.
Thank you so much, Leo. Once again, big round of applause to Leo, our Director of Resources and Advocacy, and Winnie Xu, our Political Director, for leading this effort. Leo, just last year, was the Student Board Member for Albany Unified as well. So thank you for all of your incredible service. Next up, I'm going to pass it over to Michelle, our Executive Policy Director, who coincidentally, was also the student board member for Mount Diablo Unified School District. When she was in high school, she actually created the position herself using AB 261, which was the bill that that Superintendent Thurmond authored and passed when he was still in the assembly. So it's great to see that this all comes full circle and connects. But Michelle, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Thank you, Alvin. I'm going to introduce the leader of our Higher Education Legislative Advocacy Coalition, or HELAC. Kim is the leader of GENup Collegiate, so she leads our Berkeley Collegiate chapter and all of the all of the collegiate chapters across California. So take it away, Kim.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Kim. I'm the director of GENup Collegiate and a coalition lead for HELAC alongside GENup leader Rick Mandel. We at GENup are so excited and appreciative of all the work that our youth leaders and our partners have accomplished to sign amazing, equitable higher education bills into law, ranging from voting rights for California community college student trustees to a more accessible transfer pathway to the expansion of student athlete compensation. We have fought to ensure that every and all students from any socioeconomic background, race, and age can pursue their dreams of higher education. Removing these barriers to higher education is a natural step to support California students, which is consistent with the high values that we put on education in our state. As current students and future leaders, GENup believes that equitable access to higher education is paramount to progression into a more just and equitable society. We at GENup are so incredibly proud, and I personally am in such awe of the power that passionate students can hold in crafting our own educational policies. Thank you to Assemblymember Medina, our fellow legislators, our supportive teacher representatives, and student leaders who advocate for an accessible and equitable higher education for all. So with that, I'll pass it back to Michelle to introduce the next person. So thank you everyone for working so hard on this.
Thank you, Kim, so much and for speaking. And also thank you to Assemblymember Jose Medina, who is the chair of the Assembly Higher Education Committee. So Jose Medina, Assemblymember Medina, if you want to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Michelle. And like ethnic studies, I need to thank the students of GENup. Things happen because of students' voices and student advocacy. So congratulations to all the students' efforts. I want to mention maybe just two bills, one that was signed into law and one that wasn't. So the one that of my bills in higher education that was signed into law, that was also a little bit time spent, was to give community colleges the ability to offer four-year degrees, something that had been introduced before by Assemblymember Marty Block, and then Senator Hill also carried it. And now, at the end of this time, the governor signed into law saying that community college will continue to be able and expand the program, giving four-year degrees at community colleges. The one bill that the governor didn't sign of mine in higher ed was expanding Cal Grant program. And a recent New York Times article, they pointed out that the governor only vetoed 60 bills, and some of the key bills that the New York Times focused on, one of them was the expansion of Cal Grant and how it would have helped across the board more students to be able to afford higher education. And in the next term, we'll get back on it again, and hopefully, we know that things don't happen the first time, but we won't give up. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Medina, for all your hard work in ethnic studies and in higher education work. Now we're going to transition into civic engagement, and coincidentally, I was also the leader of the Civic Engagement Coalition. Civic engagement is quite possibly my favorite phrase ever, and I was very honored to lead the Civic Engagement Coalition. In tandem with the California Student Board Member Association, we wrote, co-sponsored, and mobilized for AB 824. Thank you again, Assemblymember Steve Bennett, for picking up this bill and being such a strong supporter for student civic engagement. This bill would allow students to petition for the creation of a student board member position on their county and charter boards of education, allowing students to sit at the table for the issues that directly affect us. As a former California student board member, I know how valuable it is to be in the room where it happens, especially right now as we're deciding on contentious issues such as vaccinations and how going back to school and how we deal with that. So thank you so much for supporting this bill, and thank you for all the supporters of student civic engagement. And also, as a former chair of the City of Walnut Creek's Youth Leadership Commission, I was excited to see the passage of AB 46, the California Youth Empowerment Act, which would create a statewide youth commission. Thank you to all who value student voice and civic engagement, all of the advocates for democracy and protecting our right to vote and our right to a fair and equitable education. This is just the beginning. I'm now going to pass it off to our Associate Policy Director, Sam Benaboo.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has made this committee so amazing. I, as a former president of the MDUSD Education Foundation Student Advisory Committee, actually I did it with Michelle. I know just how powerful a student voice is in creating change within our communities. I'm so glad this bill was passed, as I truly do believe, like Michelle said, that our voice is our greatest superpower. And we need to learn to use it. We need to learn to embody it. And I think great change can be made, and greater change will be made through these bills and through the work of GENup. And then I also want to pass it off to Jenny to continue to talk about the committee.
Yeah, hi y'all. My name is Jennifer Tran, or Jenny. I'm a senior and the current SBM of the Garden Grove Unified School District. I'm also a policy director here at GENup, as well as a policy director at CSBMA, or the California Student Board Member Association, which you'll hear a bit more about later as our next speaker talks, Zachary. But AB 824 is kind of the bill that I really worked on within the Civic Engagement Coalition. And this bill allows for students to petition for student board members on their county and charter school boards of education, just like how we can petition for them within districts. And this bill is going to open up so many opportunities and ways for students to really understand and civically engage with the systems of power all around us. To speak a little bit about civic engagement in general, I was once in the same position as so many of y'all in the audience right now as students are. I was a rising junior and I was just so lost. And yet at the same time, I remember having a passion and having like a desire to be more engaged, but not knowing how to, or having enough experience to be engaged. And that's why I'm so glad I joined my local GENup chapter. I joined the GENup executive team, and I finally joined the GENup Civic Engagement Coalition, where I was really able to explore and find my passions and set my goals and what I want to accomplish within the education system. And after working with these wonderful, wonderful people for over a year on AB 824 and a couple other bills, I cannot tell you the joy I felt when I got that call that AB 824 was signed by the governor. It was a feeling like nothing else. And I really think that's because of how many students this bill will impact. There's 48 counties in the state, 1,336 charter schools, and in total, 1,364 potential student board members that are created by this bill, and 6 million students who will finally gain the recognition and representation they deserve as constituents, as students, and as the biggest stakeholder within the California education system. This bill is really for y'all to take into your hands, to bring to your local county or school, and to create the positive change that you want to see. So I urge all of you in the audience, if you're a student, to get out there, fight for what you believe in, possibly pick up this campaign and engage in the local politics that directly impact your school. Thank you to all of everyone who worked on this bill. Thank you to Assemblymember Bennett, and thank you to the California Student Board Member Association and everyone in GENup who advocated and mobilized for this bill.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Now we're going to pass it off to Dr. Hewling Lee, who is the leader of a working group called Authentic Preparation Today, and who is one of our strongest supporters for student civic engagement. Take it away.
Thank you, Michelle. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hewling Lee, the Executive Director for Authentic Preparation today, which is a statewide work group of many education-focused organizations, including GENup, with a mission to promote real-world learning experiences for students. Our group has been collaborating with the California Department of Education for the past 3 years to develop and support the State Seal Civic Engagement to re-elevate civic learning in schools. It's been a privilege and an honor to work with GENup to wrap up the State Seal for the past 2 years. So it's not just legislative bills that you guys have been working on, it's other things as well too to support education. It's been I've also had the pleasure of being a part of GENup's board to be able to witness and learn about all the amazing work that you all are doing. Student voice through GENup mobilization has been pivotal in getting the State Seal Civic Engagement approved. I'm grateful for GENup's allyship in our recommendations for the Ethnic Studies model curriculum. Michelle has been in every single meeting of ours on the State Seal Civic Engagement and the model curriculum throughout the past year. And I appreciate Jenny Tran, Camilla Attar, and Christina Lopez for their leadership in writing to the legislature about the importance of actually funding student civic learning to genuinely support student voice and agency. I also appreciate GENup students for stepping up into help with the legwork to surface promising local practices to support the State Seal when the adults fail to value this work appropriately. So it's not just the bills that you guys have been pushing, but it's also the heavy legwork that you guys have been doing in the background as well too. So I can't sing your praises enough. You are my inspiration for doing this work. I'm grateful to be part of GENup as an adult ally and be in community and partnership with you all in the civic engagement work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee, for those wonderful words and all the work that you've been doing, that we've all been doing on the State Seal of Civic Engagement. I know that it's also a game changer when it comes to civic learning. Now, lastly, the last speaker on civic engagement and on AB 824, the president of the California Student Board Member Association and the student board member for the San Diego Unified School District, the one and only Zachary Patterson.
Well, thank you for such a nice introduction, Michelle. It is such a pleasure to be here today, and it really makes me a little bit emotional just to be able to share with all of you just the journey of AB 824 and where we are today. We came out as student board members when we founded CSBMA, and no part to thank Alvin Lee and from GENup for helping so much in that process. But we came out looking at our first legislative season and looking to plan. And as student board members, you know, it was pretty easy to make a list of things that we weren't satisfied with. We have, as we all know, those of us that have served as student board members and those of us that have worked in the realm, the bill creating student board members, so powerful, so strong. And yet at the same time, what we see is the challenges in our everyday working of wanting to be board members, but still not being viewed by our colleagues as board members. And it really made it a challenge. And we knew that. And that's why we founded CSBMA. And when we all came together, one of the things we brought up was, we don't understand why all boards of education don't have student board members and why there's not that process there. And we had students coming to us from our authorizing charter schools saying, we want representation, we want to be in this picture. And from different regulations, that wasn't happening. So we said, we're going to find a better way to do this. And we ended up going out there and saying, let's write a bill to expand AB 261 and make it so county boards of education and charter schools can have student board members and have that fundamental representation. And sure enough, we worked with our Vice President, Emily Bilsma, who I'll shout out right now for helping write that legislation, and so many others. We met with over 25 different offices, and we were honored to have that bill picked up by Assemblymember Bennett. I have to say, it really has informed me, and I've learned quite a lot about California's own legislative process from this bill, and being able to just see what it looks like to work with so many stakeholder groups and getting to a point to where you can move forward and where you can make people happy with this. And while no, without question, and I know Michelle will attest, it was a challenge, we are super, super excited here at CSBMA and on behalf of GENup to see Assembly Bill 824 move forward. And as Jennifer Tran said, our policy director at CSBMA and at GENup, it's now on to us as students. We have county boards of education, we have 58 of them, and we have over 1,000 charter schools, and all of them can have student board members. We know what it means to have the fundamental right of representation. We live in a system where students are the primary stakeholders, yet they don't have a voice in that system, and student board members are there to change that. We're here to change that, and we're doing that every day. We put forth AB 824, and we're ready to work with students across California to get representation on county boards and charter school boards of education. And again, thank you so much to GENup for their incredible work, whether it was working with them on mental health, our district initiatives, or Assembly Bill 824. It was such a pleasure. So thank you to GENup, and I'm super excited to be speaking today.
Thank you so much, Zachary, for your work and your leadership. Now we're going to move on to our Menstrual Equity Coalition, and I'm going to pass it off to Jenny.
Hi there again, guys. So I believe Camilla was supposed to speak on this later. I think she submitted a video, so hopefully you'll be able to see all of that. But menstrual equity. This bill is AB 367, and it's the first bill in the nation to include colleges and universities in providing free menstrual products to public schools. It's really a question about gender equity and basic human dignity. It's critical to view period products as the same way as toilet paper and hand soap. And while 5 states, including California, have already passed laws requiring public schools to provide free menstrual equity products, AB 367 is going to be the first one in the nation to provide them and include colleges and universities in this. I'm incredibly proud of the work in this coalition, and I thank all of the students, all the adults, and the assembly members that have mobilized on this bill, really showing that we support gender equity within the legislature and within California. And with that, I'll pass it on to Camilla.
Hello, my name is Kimia Attar, and I'm a senior at University High School in Fresno. I'm filling in today for this coalition's leader, Katie Chen, as she's unable to be with us today, but I'm very delighted to speak on the state of menstrual equity in California public schools, as it is an issue that has not been prioritized in the past. This coalition is essentially focusing on implementing the affordability, accessibility, and safety of menstrual products to all individuals who are in need of them in the school setting. It is important to note that menstrual equity is not something that is solely defined by products, but it also pertains to the education and reproductive care as well. It centers around ensuring that people have the needs, support, and choices to decide on how they want to go about taking care of their mental health, as well as ending the stigma around periods that has prevented not only decision makers, but also healthcare providers, educators, and individuals from making sure that menstrual health is a priority. The bill on this coalition that was signed into law by Governor Newsom is AB 367, or more commonly known as the Menstrual Equity for All Act. This bill would require a public school to stock the school's restrooms with an adequate supply of free menstrual products as defined, available and accessible, free of cost in all women's restrooms and all gender restrooms, and in at least one men's restroom at all times, and to post a designated notice for this. This is a monumental moment, seeing as it is breaking through taboos surrounding a matter of basic hygiene and providing the many low-income students suffering from period poverty with the mandatory resources. Thank you all, and I'm excited to see what's in store for the future of this coalition.
Thank you so much, Camilla and Jenny, for that awesome work that you guys, and Katie, for that incredible work y'all have been leading with AB 367 and its ultimate signature by the governor. And thank you so much to Assemblywoman Garcia for authoring and championing this bill through the legislature. Next up, we're going to have move to the section for student welfare. And first up, we're excited to welcome Vince Stewart, who is the executive director of the STEM network at Children Now. So Vince, go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thanks, Alvin. I appreciate that very much. And as you just indicated, I'm the executive director of the California STEM Network, but also the chief impact and program officer for Children Now. And it is really my pleasure to join you today. And on behalf of Children Now, I just want to add our congratulations on a remarkable year. I think GENup has really demonstrated the power and impact of student voice and leadership in both advocacy and policy. And we think you've just done an amazing job. We've enjoyed working in partnership with you, particularly as a member of your advisory board. And we believe that your advocacy has been critical, not only in Sacramento, as evidenced by the numerous bills we've talked about this afternoon, but also locally with school board members and district leadership. We think that you have a critical and strong role to play there as well. And Children Now also shares, I think, many of the policy priorities that we've talked about this afternoon, especially those focused on student welfare, issues of student mental health. Certainly want to give a shout out to Assemblymember Medina for his AB 1456 regarding the Cal Grant program. But all of these issues we think are tremendously important and will make a significant difference in the lives of students, both K-12 and higher education. So again, on behalf of all of my colleagues at Children Now, we just say congratulations and job well done.
Thank you so much, Vince. And it's also our honor to be able to work with the incredible team of Children Now, you, Vince, Samantha, and Ted. So thank you all, and we're excited for the collaboration to come this year. Next up, I'm going to pass it off to Genevieve, the Chief of Staff, to give some brief remarks on the Student Welfare Coalition.
Thanks so much, Alvin. The Student Welfare Coalition has done some incredible work this last year. I want to highlight, especially for the students in the audience, one bill that we are especially proud of, AB 104. This actually passed back in July. The governor was very hasty in getting this signed, but I think it's very important for all students to know about this law. For this school year, to help students recover from the lost instruction time of the 2020 to 2021 school year, students can pursue pass no pass grading, retake a grade level, and undergo credit recovery processes to support those students who have fallen behind during the pandemic. This was one of our keystone bills. If you have any questions about how you want to do that, you can feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to us here at GENup. We're going to provide you those resources as well as on our website. That is just one of the many amazing bills that we have had the privilege of working on with the Student Welfare Coalition. And while a lot of these were smaller bills, more logistical, we know that they're going to be making a really big difference in the day-to-day operations of how schools operate, not just AB 104, but all of the bills in this coalition. So thank you to all of the people who worked on this coalition. It is my honor to be able to speak for them today, and I look forward to continuing this work next year. Back to you, Alvin.
Thank you so much, Jenna. Now, as we head into the conclusion, we're going to pass it off to Superintendent Easton. So Superintendent Easton, go ahead and take it away.
Well, let me just say to each and every one of you how proud I am to be associated with you. I really do believe what you have done this year is remarkable, but it's also important. And so I don't want you to give up. I want you to stay engaged. One of my favorite quotes is, "Children are a living message we send to a time we will never see." Your passion, your intelligent approach to some of the issues of our time, your willingness to speak up has been important. One of my favorite lines is also, "Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes." As a person who spoke a little bit as a young adult, I was scared, but I found my courage and it gave me a sense of purpose and a sense of the future. This country needs you. California needs you. Your individual communities need you. You need to continue to speak the truth, because there are some people who are faint of heart or who are driven by greed and their own hope for prosperity. And prosperity is only possible when so many of us are growing richer. And that's not necessarily a bank account statement. You grow richer by knowing people that are all sorts of descriptions, people with, yes, disabilities, and remember, people that have such diverse backgrounds. This is not a disadvantage for California. The advantage for California is the people you've just seen speak. A very diverse group of people with not only brains, but as I said before, courage, vision, and heart. We must foster a much more judicious world that's fair and just, but also courageous, that does in fact stand for improvements. You have made a difference this year. These bills that you got signed into law were amazingly important. And so I say to you, continue to be brave, be bold, be engaged, be involved as you go off to college, as you go to graduate school. But always remember, the real differences in this world have been made by people like the people on this conference call. It's not about one person who comes in a cape, flies in and saves the world. It's about people like the people on this call, whether they're short or tall, whether they're left-handed or right-handed, whether they're of any of the various races, and some of you are many races. The fact is, we need to develop a culture and a climate that is inclusive, that is actually constructive, hopeful, and yes, built on the principle that we can make this world a better place, that we have a responsibility to do so. And that's one of the biggest worries I have, is that we have some people out there that are becoming timid. We cannot afford to be timid. Just because America got rich, it got rich because it educated its children. It's got rich because it believes in equality and opportunity. And it will only stay successful if it looks in the eyes of every single child and says, we have a wonderful future for you. So thank you all for your engagement here. I'm proud to be associated with GENup. Thank you for letting this old soul participate with you in building a better tomorrow. I thank you so very much. Onward. Thanks, Alvin.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Easton, for those incredibly kind and supportive words. It's our honor to work with you as well, and your two successors down, Superintendent, our current State Superintendent, Tony Thurmond, as well. Next up, as we move to conclusion, our concluding speakers, I'll pass it off to Michelle Alas.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to our policy celebration. I cannot say it better than Superintendent Easton. And I just want to thank all of the legislators again, and all of the organizers, all of the students that sent in public comment, all the students that wrote letters of support. This has been months in the making, countless meetings, countless Google Docs, countless Google Slides. So once again, thank you so much. I am excited for the work that is to come. We're going to make sure to kick this off again this coming legislative session. And I'm going to pass it off to our Chief of Staff, Genevieve.
Thanks so much, Michelle. That's a great segue into what I wanted to talk about. This year has been amazing, and I want you guys to know that our work is not done. We are already in the process of developing our legislative policy slate for next year based on the priorities that you guys have shared with us. And that's going to include our media and our comms and our tech team working to disseminate the information that we have from this year's legislative slate so that you guys have access to it. And that includes our campaigns team, and that of course includes Michelle leading our policy team to determine what we want to be focusing on for next year and to make more concrete changes, to keep working on those issues that we didn't get through this year, and to work on an entirely new slate. So we have lots of exciting things coming up. Please stay tuned, please stay engaged and active, because it is only up from here. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll pass it back to Alvin.
Just recapping what our amazing lineup of speakers said today, from our State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman, Superintendent Easton, Assemblymember Medina, Assemblymember Bennett, Dr. Korematsu, Vince from Children Now, Zachary, Leo, just all the incredible speakers we've had today. Thank you so much for coming out today and supporting this historic work we're leading here at GenUp. We're so excited to have been partners with you throughout this process and this advocacy work this year, and we're excited for the future collaboration to come. We also want to give a shout out to some of our members of our Board of Advisors who are here today, Superintendent Easton, Dr. Lee, Jeff Camp, and Nino, who are here today as well. And also to Katie, our Director of Innovation and Strategy, Camilla, likewise, as well as Iris, who is our Executive Director of Organizing, who led all the chapters in engaging and mobilizing students to actually successfully advocate and push through policy, be it at their local district and school board levels or at the state level with phone banks, starting petitions, writing to their electeds, etc., speaking out and testifying before committees, giving public comments, etc. So thank you so much to the incredible work of our GenUp team and our GenUp network of over 4,000 plus student organizers across the state and the nation. It's an honor to work with everyone. And on that note, we're going to end the policy celebration here today. But as Superintendent Easton said, onwards to the next cycle. And we're excited to see the awe-inspiring progress that we hope to report back to you all next year as well, with what hopefully will be, knock on wood, another incredibly successful legislative cycle. So thank you all, everyone. And on that note, have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.